Okay, so we're here with Kevin Wilson of Home Team Lending.
Howdy, Jack.
Hey, Kevin. So I wanted to bring Kevin in and talk about the medical professional loan. Now, that's different than a physician loan program, correct? And we've all been familiar with those, and they're great programs, but they have been very specific that they are board certified physicians that they cover, correct?
Yeah.
So what is the difference with the newer programs?
So the modern version of what we used to call the doctor loan or the physician loan, Jack, is it's inclusive in the medical field. So we're not just speaking to, as you correctly stated, doctors or MDs. We're able to cover a much broader scope of the total industry. So we think about people in the dental field or people that are CRNAs or veterinary practice. So we're looking at a much broader spectrum of the actual medical industry.
When I was looking over the paperwork, what struck me is that it still has to be a doctor of.
Correct.
It can be a DO or it can be an MD. It can be a doctor of veterinary medicine, a doctor of pharmacy, but it has to be a doctor. So some of those other, now the one that I thought was sort of not that was I always get this wrong,
Okay.
but the nurse anesthesia, what did I?
Yeah.
Nurse anesthesia.
I won't make an effort at it, honestly.
Okay, for people who give anesthesia, who are
Yes.
okay, but that was the one that seemed like a little bit different than the doctor, but everything else seemed pretty much like a doctor
Yeah.
of.
That's why I say CNRA.
Yeah,
So
makes sense, perfect sense. So okay, so obviously no one looks worse when they're coming out of school to a bank than a newly $250,000 student loan, just starting employment person.
Right.
So what is it about this? And
correct. So it's a great question. And really what we're looking at is the ability to offer somebody who has accomplished an amazing feat to start into their medical field, their practice, is the ability to give them a loan up to $2 million. We're able to actually have no private mortgage insurance on that loan that traditionally you wouldn't see without 2 years of history, and we can do that immediately upon exiting from with their contract for employment with their new practice.
wow.
Yeah.
So it doesn't have the mortgage insurance because it is a conventional product, correct?
It's not actually a conventional product. So
Okay.
it's inside of a spectrum that's a little bit different. It looks and feels and operates. So again, think 30-year fixed type mortgage. Think about an adjustable rate mortgage. We have both of those with this program. A conventional loan would have capped somewhere in the $800,000 range, $832,750. We're able to take it much higher up into $2
More
million.
like a jumbo.
Correct. That's correct.
So then let's not get too much in the weeds on this, but I do think it's interesting. We were discussing this with an ARM. You know, for a person in this position, or really any position, the ARM has actually been such a hot point for so many people because it has a bad reputation because in the past it was abused in a way that was kind of like get people to go ahead and do something, but then it backfired on them, right?
Yeah.
But what is the advantage in a situation like this to somebody doing an ARM over a fixed?
So the real question that we would ask, and it's an easy question for our audience to listen to, is how long do you expect to stay in the home? Most likely an individual that's starting their occupation is probably going to go through a few homes as they advance in their career. So though usually this first one isn't their long-term permanent residence. And if their intention is to maybe to upgrade or relocate as their business changes, and on a 5-year or a 7-year ARM, they're going to be able to get a better rate. That risky feature that we get concerned about when we talk about the adjustment that comes after that period would be less of an issue because they're going to be looking to probably upgrade before that period actually comes to them.
So you might get better terms by going with the ARM.
You will.
And that does make sense, especially if somebody's in residency and they're going to be here for 2 or 3 years.
Correct.
And then move to a different market, then that could be a really great plan to do it that way.
That's correct.
I think that's awesome, and I think it's really great that there are so many different programs, and I think that's one of the things that we as realtors, first of all, I'm not a lender, and I don't pretend to be when I even play one on TV, but I do think it's really important that we know the right people to talk to, that know the programs, because so many people fit into a certain box.
That's right.
And they don't fit into another box, and then if they fit into that box and there's a program or something for that, it's really advantageous. So compared to somebody like that was just coming out of school that was in a different field, What would you say the best thing about this is?
So the differential would be, let's say, for example, we have somebody coming out with like a chemical engineering degree, not a doctoral of that, but we could use their employment contract much like we could with this type of loan, our medical loan, but you wouldn't be able to take the loan into the jumbo range as we were able to do this, and you would have a private mortgage or PMI associated with it. So those pieces are being afforded on this loan. And you're correct, understanding the needs of the customer, understanding what those clients will need, and having a portfolio of products that address that is where you have to meet them, because it's not one size fits all. As a matter of fact, it really isn't a better to worst scenario when you're talking about these products, these types of loans. It's really finding what's best for that individual and making sure we have a good fit for them.
Makes so much sense. Now, in this particular case, what does somebody need to have in order to get started and qualify? Because you can be an established doctor in this program, but you also can be somebody who's just signed a contract, correct?
That's right. That's correct.
Explain that to us.
So the employment contract will be utilized for what the income's going to be. We don't need 2 years of income history to prove that. We're going to utilize the contract. We can take a credit score down as low as 680. Again, sometimes people going through school run into some credit issues, but we can go down as low or lack of credit. And so we're going to meet them where they are today and honor them for where we believe they're going to go to in the future with this type of product.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So we have a lot of other programs that I would like us to go through and do in future videos, but I think this is really an important one, because I do think that there are so many people that fit into this, and they don't realize what's possible and capable. That I think is really important is I think you all should try to figure out how to do this for physician assistants.
Yes.
So we're going to be looking into potential for that, because that does seem to be like where the medical profession is moving. So we will look into that. But there are other options for people who are on that spectrum, just not this particular loan program.
Again, like I said, we have a very broad spectrum of products that we offer, and we meet them where they are. And if we can't, we'll refer them to one of our friends that can.
Right. So if you are in that position as a physician assistant or upcoming, don't be afraid to still reach out. There's just this particular one isn't the one for you at this moment.
That's correct.
Well, thanks, Kevin, and we will talk soon.